Hi, welcome to Grammar Compass with Sir Victor. Let us master English language together. Kindly reach out to us via our social media handles on the screen.
What is a subject? Let's look at this example. My grandmother cooks well. In this sentence, there is an action word, that is cooks. And who is performing the action of cooking? It is my grandmother. Look at the picture over here. Who is cooking? It is my grandmother. Since my grandmother is performing the action in the sentence expressed by the verb, then we can say my grandmother is our subject. Let's look at the second sentence. Christian traveled miles away. Who performed the action travel? It was Christian. Therefore, Christian is our subject. With these two sentences, we can then say that the subject is the performer or the doer of an action. To identify a subject in this way, you simply ask yourself, who is performing the action? And your answer will be your subject. However, sometimes the subjects do not perform actions in a sentence. Let's have an example. The young girl is smart indeed. What is our verb? The verb is the word is. Is it an action word? No. Do we say we have no subject in the sentence? We have a subject. It means that the subject does not always perform an action. Sometimes it is simply the one that we are talking about. So in this sentence, if we want to identify our subject, we simply ask who is smart indeed. And what is your answer? The young girl. So the young girl is smart indeed. She is smart indeed. Therefore, the young girl is our subject because the predicate is talking about the young girl. Another one. The room feels extremely hot. Is someone performing an action in the sentence? No. So it means that sometimes the subject is not even a human being. It can be an inanimate object. So, in this sentence, the room is our subject because the predicate feels extremely hot is about the room. What feels extremely hot? The room. It means we are talking about the room. Therefore, it is our subject. You are asked to define a subject. Per these examples, you can say that the subject is the element that performs the action. You can also define the subject as the element being talked about in the sentence. For example, the young girl is smart indeed. What is the sentence about? It is about the young girl. Therefore, the young girl is our subject. Let's talk about the positions where subjects are found. Over here, we can see that all these sentences are statements. They are declarative sentences. If you have a declarative sentence, the subject will always come before your main verb. So over here, cooks is our main verb, and the subject comes before our main verb. Christian traveled miles away. Traveled is our main verb, so our subject will come before the main verb. Therefore, we conclude that the subject occurs before the verb in a simple declarative sentence. So whenever you have declarative sentences, you are going to see your subjects before the main verbs. This is getting very easy to identify a subject. All that you need to do is to find your main verb in a simple declarative sentence. After you found your verb, all the elements that appear before the main verb would function as the subject. What if we don't have declarative sentences, but we have sentences that are questions? Will the subject still come before the main verb? No. Let us have an example. In yes or no questions, the subject occurs after the verb and not before the verb. In statements, it comes before the verbs. However, in questions, it will come after the verb. Is the girl smart indeed? The subject came after the verb is. Therefore, the girl is still our subject. But since it is a question, it appeared after our verb. Does the room feel extremely hot? The room is our subject. And since this sentence is a question, it didn't come before the verb does. It came after the verb. So in statements, the subjects occur before the verbs. And in questions whose answer are yes or no, the subject would come after the verbal element. What if the sentence is not a statement and it is not a question, but it is an imperative sentence? Sentences that give command. The subject in an imperative sentence is always implied. We do not write the subject in a command. For example, eat the food. Do you see the subject in this sentence? No, there is no subject before eat because we do not write it. It is implied. The real subject of an imperative sentence is the pronoun you. Whenever you give an instruction, your subject is you, the person you are talking to. For example, eat the food is equally like saying you eat the food. So in imperative sentences, the subjects are you. However, they are not written, but they are implied. Now that you understand what subjects are and where they can appear in sentences, let us look at the linguistic items that can function as a subject. The first linguistic item that can play the subject role is a noun phrase. So noun phrases usually perform the role of a subject. The clause can also function as a subject. The empty or prop it can also function as a subject. And the anticipatory it can also function as a subject. Let us first look at noun phrases that function as subjects. When noun phrases function as subjects, it can be a single noun or a pronoun. Let us have an example. John loves reading. Who loves reading? John. John is our subject and it is a single noun. Therefore, a single noun can represent a noun phrase functioning as a subject. In this sentence, John is being talked about. Therefore, John, which is a single noun, will function as our subject. Paris attracts many tourists. What attracts many tourists? Therefore, Paris is functioning as our subject and it is a single noun. In the third sentence, dogs bark at strangers. Which element is performing the action in the sentence? So to identify your subject, simply ask yourself, what is performing the action in the sentence? And the answer is dogs. Dogs is our subject and it is a single noun. Books give knowledge. Books is a single noun, and since it is the one being talked about or that thing that performs this action, we can call it our subject. Yesterday was Tuesday. Can you guess the subject in this particular sentence? The subject is yesterday because it comes before our verb, and we are talking about yesterday. In a nutshell, single nouns can function as subjects. So what about pronouns functioning as the subject? What is a pronoun? A pronoun replaces a noun in a sentence. Let us replace John with a pronoun. If we are able to do that, it means that that pronoun will be functioning as our subject as well. He loves reading. John loves reading. He loves reading. What is our subject? He, which is a pronoun. So he has replaced the noun. Therefore, he has become our subject and it is a pronoun. It attracts many tourists. What attracts many tourists? It. So it is our subject. They bark at strangers. What barks at strangers? They. They is our subject. They give knowledge. They has become as subject. In a nutshell, a single noun or a single pronoun can perform the role of a subject. Sometimes the noun phrase wouldn't be a single noun. The noun phrase functioning as a subject can be in the form of a determiner and a noun, and not a single noun. Let us have these examples. Example 1. The cat sleeps peacefully. What sleeps peacefully? The cat. So over here, the determiner or the article the and cat together are performing the subject role. If you have a determiner and a noun, do not underline only the noun and say that it is your subject. If both occur together, they are functioning together as the subject. And you can replace it with a pronoun. You can say, it sleeps carefully. In the next sentence, a student asked a question. Who asked a question? A student. Therefore, a student is performing the role of the subject. And not only student. This book contains pictures. Can you guess the subject? This book. And what is our verb? Contains. That house looks beautiful. What is our subject? That house. Each child received a gift. What is our subject? Who received a gift? Each child. So the subject can be in the form of a determiner and noun. Again, the subject can be in the form of a determiner, an adjective, and a noun. For example, the tall boy won the race. Who won the race? Your answer is the tall boy. Therefore, the tall boy is functioning as our subject. It contains a determiner, an adjective, and a noun. And together, we will call it a noun phrase, and it is functioning as our subject. A beautiful flower bloomed. What bloomed? Your answer is your subject. It was a beautiful flower. It tells you that the nouns can come with other descriptions, and all those descriptions will form parts of a noun phrase, and they will perform only one function, which is, in this case, the subject function. This old book is very rare. What is very rare? This old book. Therefore, this old book is functioning as our subject and not only book. That red car belongs to her sister. That is a determiner. Red is an adjective. Car is a noun. And together, it is a noun phrase. And what is its function? It is performing the role of a subject. Each small child received a toy. What is the subject? It is each small child and not only child. That the subject can be a complex subject such as this. The noun can appear with other units and together they will perform the role of a subject. Sometimes the noun phrases functioning as subjects will not be a determiner, an adjective, and a noun, as we talked about. It can be a very long one.
You can have a determiner, a noun, and a prepositional phrase, and together they will function as your subject. Let's have some examples. The cat in the room sleeps peacefully. What sleeps peacefully? The cat in the room. A determiner, a noun, and a prepositional phrase, and together it is performing the function of a noun. That is the subject function. A student at the party asked a question. A student at the party is performing the subject role. It consists of a determiner, a noun, and a prepositional phrase, which is at the party. This book with green cover contains pictures. What contains pictures? This book with green cover. A determiner, a noun, and a prepositional phrase. Together, it is functioning as the subject. That house over there looks beautiful. What looks beautiful? That house over there. It is performing the subject role. Each child in the class received a gift, we have a determiner, each, a noun, child, and a prepositional phrase in the class, which is giving us more information about the child. So together, it is performing the role of the subject. So the noun phrase can be a very long one like this. Also, we can have noun phrases that consist of determiner, adjective, noun, a prepositional phrase, or a determiner, adjective, noun, and a relative clause. And together, they will be performing the same role, and that is the subject role. Let us have an example. The tall boy in the room who came here won the race. Who won the race? The answer is your subject. So what is our answer? The tall boy in the room who came here. So the whole of this is performing the subject role. You can replace it with a pronoun. You can say, he won the race. Therefore, the whole of this serves as our subject and not only the boy. So the noun phrase can be a very long one. So when you have a very long phrase like this, together it is functioning as the subject. A beautiful flower which was planted bloomed. What bloomed? Your answer is your subject, and it is a beautiful flower which was planted, and it consists of a determiner, an adjective, a noun, and a relative clause. This clause is giving us more information about the flower, so it means it is part of our subject. Therefore, the whole of this serves as our subject. This old book in the shop that was bought is very rare. What is very rare? It is this old book in the shop that was bought. You can say it is very rare. That red car which we drive belongs to her. That red car which we drive is our subject. Which we drive is just providing more information about that red car. So it is part of the noun making a noun phrase. Therefore, we have that red car which we drive as our subject, and our main verb is belongs. Each small child that was born received a toy. Who received a toy? Each small child that was born. Therefore, the whole of this is functioning as our subject. So the noun phrase can be a very complex one like this. You can have a determiner, an adjective, a noun, and a relative clause that is providing more information about the noun. Together, they form the noun phrase, so they will perform just one role, and that is the subject role. So the most important thing is to identify your main verb. Immediately you see the main verb in statements, then obviously whatever comes before the main verb is your subject.
Let us have this exercise. You can pause the video and then finish the exercise. After that, answers will be provided. Do you have your answers now? Let us see the correct responses. In the first one, the merciful are equally important. The merciful is our subject. All that you need to do is to find your main verb, and whatever comes before it becomes your subject. The tall man with a blue hat is our subject, and he is the one that performs the action wave. An unexpected visitor is our subject in the sentence. The student who won the award is my cousin. Who is my cousin? It is the student who won the award, not only the student. So note that if there is a noun and the noun contains a clause that describes the noun, it will form part of the noun, so together they will perform the same function. Does it perform over here? It performs the subject role. Now, we know how to identify noun phrases that are functioning as subjects. Let us look at when clauses function as subjects. 4 clauses perform the role of subjects in English. What are these clauses? The first clause is the nominal that clause. This clause begins with the word that. Another clause is the nominal interrogative clause. We call it the WH clause. These clauses normally begin with question words, WH words. Infinitive clauses can also perform the role of a subject. These infinitive clauses begin with the infinitive marker to. Participial clauses can also perform the role of a subject. Participial clauses are verbal clauses. We call these clauses nominal clauses because they are performing the roles that a noun should have performed. It is only a noun that should serve as a subject. Therefore, if any other element is performing the role of a noun, then we will call that element a nominal element. The clause are subjects. Let's start with the that clause. These clauses start with the word that, and it contains a verb in it. Let's have an example. That students use AI for their assignments limits their creativity. Here, there are two verbs in the sentence. Can you find them? We have use and we have limits. Which one is the main verb of our sentence? It is the verb limits. Why? Because use is part of that clause. Therefore, it is not the main verb of the sentence. Whenever you have that clause coming before the main verb in the sentence, then the whole of this clause will function as your subject. You can replace it with the word it. Let's try to replace that students use AI for their assignments with the word it. We can say it limits their creativity. Therefore, what limits their creativity? That students use AI for their assignments. So together, this is functioning as a subject. So that clauses function as subjects when they occur before the main verb. Let us have another that clause which is functioning as the subject of the main verb. That the pastor squandered our money made us furious. What made us furious? Your answer is your subject, and this is what made us furious. That the pastor squandered our money. So together, it is functioning as a subject. That he arrived late caused a delay. What caused a delay? That he arrived late. So this is our subject. And it begins with the word that. So together, it is a that clause. And why are we calling it a clause? Remember, every clause has a verb in it. Over here, that he arrived late has a verb in it. But that's not the main verb of the sentence. Our main verb is caused. So that he arrived late is the subject which comes before the main verb caused. That they agreed to the proposal is remarkable. What is remarkable? That they agreed to the proposal. So together, that they agreed to the proposal is a that clause and it is functioning as our subject. That you remembered my birthday made me happy. What made me happy? That you remembered my birthday. So together, it is our subject. You can simply replace the whole of this with it. You can say, it made me happy. That the weather improved saved our picnic plans. What saved our picnic plans? That the weather improved. So, these are our subjects and they come before the main verbs of the sentences. So note that you can be given a sentence which contains a that clause being used as a subject. Let us look at the second type of clause that can function as a subject, and we call it interrogative clause. This clause begins with words like who, what, why, when, and since it is a clause, they would contain a verb in their structure. Let's have examples. What caused the noise remains unknown. What remains unknown? What caused the noise? Therefore, the whole of this is functioning as our subject. You can replace it with it. You can say, it remains unknown. So whenever you are given a sentence where a clause is functioning as your subject, you are definitely going to see more than one verb, because that clause will contain its verb, and then we will have the main verb of the sentence. However, in statements, the subjects will come before the main verbs of the sentence. So in this case, what caused the noise will be our subject, which comes before the main verb. In this sentence, who will lead the team is yet to be decided. What is yet to be decided? Who will lead the team? It is yet to be decided. Therefore, who will lead the team is an interrogative clause. It starts with who and it contains a verb, but it is functioning here as a subject. Which option works best is still unclear. We have two verbs, works and is. Which one is the main verb of the sentence? It is the verb is. This is because works as a verb is found in a clause. Therefore, it is not the main verb of the sentence. It is part of the clause. So what is our subject? What is still unclear? Which option works best? How she solved the puzzle amazes everyone. What amazes everyone? How she solved the puzzle. It amazes everyone. So this is our subject. Why they left early puzzled the audience. What puzzled the audience? Why they left early. Let us look at the infinitive clause functioning as our subject. Look at this beautiful young girl over here. She is engaged in an activity. What is she doing? She reads every day. So you can say, to read every day improves your vocabulary. What is the main verb? The main verb is improves and not the verb in the clause. Infinitive clauses always begin with the word to. We call it an infinitive marker because there is a verb after it. So together, it is performing the role of a subject. To read every day improves your vocabulary. To exercise regularly benefits your health. What benefits your health? To exercise regularly. To travel the world is her ultimate dream. What is her ultimate dream? To travel the world. To learn a new language takes dedication. What takes dedication? To learn a new language. Therefore, the two infinitive clauses over here are performing the roles of a subject because they are the ones that appear before the main verb, and these sentences are statements. The last one, to finish this project on time requires teamwork. What requires teamwork? It is to finish this project on time. Next, let us look at the participial clause functioning as the subject. These clauses begin with ing verbal words. For example, reading every day enhances your knowledge. What is the subject? The subject is a participial clause. It begins with a verb. However, this is not the main verb. The main verb in the sentence is enhances. Therefore, this verb here is part of our clause, and the clause is a participial clause, an ing clause, which is functioning as the subject. So this is the activity, and the activity that the girl engages in is what enhances someone's knowledge. Therefore, reading every day is our subject. You can replace it with it. You can say, it enhances your knowledge. Exercising regularly keeps you healthy. What keeps you healthy? Exercising regularly. Therefore, exercising regularly becomes our subject. You can say, it keeps you healthy. Traveling around the world broadens your perspective. What broadens your perspective? Traveling around the world. Learning a new skill takes time and effort. What takes time and effort? Learning a new skill. Studying late at night affects your sleep. What affects your sleep? Studying late at night. You can say it affects your sleep. So these are how clauses function as subjects in a sentence. Therefore, if you see a clause functioning as a subject, take it as a unit, because together with every word that is included in the clause, they perform the same role, and that is, if they occur before the main verbs, that clause will be performing the role of a subject. How does an anticipatory it function as a subject? When clauses function as subjects, you can rephrase the sentence to make it the subject. Let us have an example. What John told you is not true. The subject is a clause. What John told you. We can replace this with it. Whenever you replace clauses with the word it, we will call that it an anticipatory it. So if you do that, then the elements the clause will have to come at the end of the sentence. For example, it is not true what John told you. It has become the subject. When the country will progress is a problem. What is a problem? When the country will progress. It is a problem when the country will progress. So in this sentence, it is functioning as a subject, and it is an anticipatory it because it has taken the place of a clause. To drive home alone seems dangerous. It is dangerous to drive home alone. Or you can say, it seems dangerous to drive home alone. What is our subject? It is it. It comes before the main verb. It has been fixed at where the clause was found. So, it is performing the role that this clause was also performing, which is the subject role. In a nutshell, it can replace clauses, and when they do that, their position will determine whether they function as subjects. And if it replaces clauses in the subject position, we will call it an anticipatory it. What about empty it? When we say it is empty, we can also say it is a prop it. In grammar, if we say empty it, it means that this particular word over there is not a pronoun. It has no meaning. However, it is used to construct sentences. When the word it is used in this sense, it usually talks about weather conditions and time. It is cloudy today. It is serving as our subject. It has no meaning, and it is our subject. It looks misty this evening. It over here didn't replace any noun nor a clause. Therefore, it is an empty it. It is a prop it, and it is serving here as our subject. We can say it is late. It is our subject. It is 6 o'clock. It is our subject. So the empty it can also perform the role of a subject. Let us have a bonus tip for the lesson. The words there and here can also perform the subject role. For example, there is hope. What is the subject? The subject is there. Again, here comes the man. What is the subject? Here. So there and here can also perform the roles of a subject. Now, this is what you are going to do. Kindly pause the video and try to identify the subjects in each sentence. After you are done, you can press play and then move on to have a look at the answers. Congratulations! You've completed your journey on identifying subjects as a clause element. In our next lesson, we will look at the verb as a clause element. Do not forget to show your support by subscribing to our channel. See you in the next video.